Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wait, What Are We Talking About podcast, episode 212. My name is Bret, aka Enigma9011, and you can catch this podcast live over on twitch.tv/Enigma9011. You can drop a follow over there. You'll get notified when we go live, so you join on the fun and chaos and conversation with us. But if you can't catch it live, that's A-OK. Go over to YouTube and podcast services the very next week, where it's broken out topic by topic and put as one big video and MP3 for your amusement on the following Friday. Last but not least, wherever you're watching or listening to this, if you drop a follow, drop a sub, whatever it is, it may seem small, but it does help the channel grow. So if you take the time to do that, we would love and appreciate you for it. Today is wrestling episode thing extravaganza. We're going to be talking a whole lot of wrestling today for our three topics, covering WrestleMania 40 weekend, which as of recording happened literally concluded yesterday. So we'll be talking about all the fun and chaos that happened over the weekend. WWE focus. I know there's a plethora of shows that go on WrestleMania weekend. I know Ring of Honor Supercard happened. Obviously, AEW's got their weekly program. GCW had their stuff. And plenty more indies. We're not going to be breaking into those. Just the WWE Central stuff. We'll be talking about all the things that happened. So let's quickly touch on the Hall of Fame to start our technically first topic, breakout, whatever it is. So inducted in the Hall of Fame this year, we had Grandma Rock. I think it was, I'm on the site. I should probably just look it up. High Chief's wife. Let's see if they have a quick link here. Do they? Probably not. Wow, way to go, WWE. What are you doing? Now I gotta search. But we had like 6 people in there. Grandma Rock. We had Muhammad Ali go in. We had U.S. Express go in there. Thunderbolt Patterson. Of course, I knew I'd forget somebody. Bull Nakano. And then Paul Heyman went in there. So, it was Friday night after SmackDown, which seems to be, what they're doing now. I don't know if that will change, because it's getting later and later. Apparently didn't wrap up filming, or at least, all the speeches till 1 a.m. Friday night. Yikes, especially for that crowd sitting through SmackDown and then that. Seemed like a lot of people also left after Heyman, who was the first one. But watching it, personally, I didn't feel like anybody took super duper long. I mean, Thunderbolt Patterson's probably was the longest, or at least most, I don't want to say uncomfortable, but awkward. Just because he rambled a little bit. I didn't think anything bad. He had a great message, which was the most important thing. I think his speech definitely, resonated more in like the general public and not like just like wrestling fans of like, this was my journey, this was my history. But honestly, watching it, I didn't feel like it was bad. I didn't feel like it was a Mr. T situation or anything like that. Heyman's was a lot of fun. His was definitely the best out of the night. Just going down memory road with him and all of his F-bombs, which we'll certainly talk about with this weekend. But the rest of the night was good. I enjoyed Bull Nakano's speech. Muhammad Ali's was a little weird. His wife accepted it. And they kind of made it about The Rock a little bit with this like people's title, which was the only like icky part about it. I would say, or the part that felt weird. Rock came out later to do his grandmother's induction and was short and sweet with that. I don't know if it was just time crunch or if he already planned on doing it. He got one last promo in against Cody for the weekend. But yeah, other than that, it was nice. We had a little tribute to Bray as well, thanks to his dad and uncle, doing that for him. So yeah, all in all, Hall of Fame was good. I'm curious, like I said, if they will change things. Obviously, years passed with Mania not being 2 nights and having it its own separate night, its own separate venue. So I guess the diehard fans like could go there and then, show their support there, so you don't get the weird chants and people are a little bit more respectful with the time there. And realizing, hey, this is a separate thing and it's not supposed to be gimmicked, for the storyline build. We don't have to boo the heels here. We can be respectful of their time and the people who are getting inducted here. We had a little bit of that shenanigans here and there with this one. So I'm curious if they'll change that. Maybe they'll make that a Thursday night. I mean, they're in town already for the whole week from the Monday to Monday, just obviously for the wrestlers' sake and production's sake. Everybody can rest and relax a little bit more. So you just got to get a stadium for another night. Obviously, that's a whole nother ticket sales, so revenue. Hey, you could do that, and everybody can relax. You don't have to have the wrestlers go out and SmackDown, do the promos, do the wrestling, quickly rush into getting their nice fancy suits and all that stuff and dresses, and we could just make this its own thing. Maybe. I don't know. I get it's a lot of programming for wrestling, but it's only another few hours. But it is what it is. We'll see what happens. So yeah, Hall of Fame was good. Really enjoyed Paul's stuff. Congrats to all of them. So let's move over to Saturday midday. Let's talk about NXT Stand and Deliver. So over the show, we won pre-show match. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 matches on the main card with some interesting tidbits in between. So let's break down the show there and talk about what happened. We'll talk about the pre-show very briefly. Like I said, there was one pre-show match, being Joe Gacy against Shawn Spears. The match overall itself was fine. The interesting thing to pull out of this was what happened actually before the match itself. So obviously pre-show shenanigans, they're doing all of the replays of the video packages, why you should care about these matches, occasional backstage interviews with people weighing in on the match or maybe participants in the match themselves. Nothing out of the normal there. But they had their panel. Megan Morant and Sam Roberts are both there, I think, hosting a majority of it. Later on, they invited, or rather had, Ridge Holland on the show, and he was talking. I think he did a great job of adding insightful commentary into, whatever questions that they were asking, stuff like that. I was like, oh, nice to hear Ridge speak. Doing pretty good. I should say this, NXT I don't watch week to week. I kind of keep up to date with that via podcasts and the internet, so some of these characters I talk about, if there's something wrong, I do apologize that I say. So anyways, Ridge, a few weeks ago, I want to say 2 or 3 at this point, said he was retiring from in-ring competition. He said he wanted to focus on his family. He felt like he's not done as well as he should, obviously hurt some people, and is guilty about that and doesn't want to continue. And it was like, that was out of nowhere. This is kind of sad, because obviously if that is all legitimate, very serious. Yes, you need to take care of your mental health. Please stop and do what you feel is right by you. So to have him back on the pre-show is like, oh, he's still around. Interesting. When he left, he was going in this little angle with Spears, where Spears was like, oh, you got to be more reckless and more violent and blah, blah, blah. So, match starts between Spears and Gacy, or rather, entrances are being made. You can hear, as Spears is making his entrance, that Morant and Roberts are like, no, don't go, Ridge, don't, stay back, blah, blah, blah. Don't attack him, don't get involved. So he's got some aggression there. And then Gacy comes out, and Gacy does now, he's got, because Schism and Dyad aren't with him, his camera during his entrance flips over. So he's holding a mask upside down that has normal writing that you can read it. It flips back to normal. And here comes Ridge Holland, chair, pa! Just nails Joe in the back. And you're like, okay, well, I guess he's back involved. I guess it was just storyline. So I guess he's aligned with Spears. So Gacy gets in there eventually, holding his back, selling that. Match overall was fine. I wouldn't say anything too super fantastic. Somehow Gacy does come out on top and does win the match there. I guess this is one we'll have to keep an eye on and see what's going on with that. But it seems like Ridge has scooted his way back into the fold with the NXT roster. So let's get on to the main show. We got the Metaphor hosting. They were pretty funny throughout, just kind of popping in here and there. They did the usual NXT shtick with pay-per-views where they're like, oh, well, who do you think's going to win this match? Oh, it sounds pretty aggressive or pretty intense, blah, blah, blah. And then video package, kind of go back and forth. But they had a wide array of outfits throughout the night and were goofy. I remember, well, we'll talk about it later, but we had a fun moment with Oba Femi and Ora Mensa as Metaphor was doing their hosting duties. So Metaphor opened. We started with the Wolf Dogs defending their NXT Tag Team titles against Axiom and Nathan Frazier, the winners of the tournament leading into this, which honestly surprised me. I thought we were going to have the Good Brothers here. But this one was a lot of fun, a lot of fast-paced action, as we can expect. We saw Baron Corbin take a dive from the top rope, which we don't see all that often. Braun Breaker moving so fast that the ring shifted at one point. No joke. You got to really pay attention to notice it, but I saw a clip online catching it. I was like, okay. Nobody, flailing their head, unfortunately, in the ropes, so everything was cool there. There was a brutal drop kick from Axiom to Braun Breaker at one point. I'd highly recommend you go watch that. If you haven't seen it, Braun runs in, Axiom just jumps and just nails him right in the jaw. Total solid hit. But in a surprise here, we did have the Wolf Dogs win and retain their titles. I thought with Breaker going over to SmackDown and signing there, going main roster, he was going to, this would be the transition to the next group. But Wolf Dogs did retain, so it seems like Braun Breaker is going to be pulling double duty on NXT and SmackDown. If it wasn't clear, I probably should have said it, but these rundowns of matches or recaps, there's not a lot of notes. It's very quick. Some of the Mania ones later, we get a little bit more, but very quick notes here. So we move on to our next match. It's the North American title triple threat. Obafemi defending against Dijak and Josh Briggs. I mentioned or alluded to the Ora Mensa thing before. The Metaphor was debating well, somebody's got to interview Oba before his match, and they're all scared and terrified, and they kind of just shove Oro towards the door. So Oro's like, oh, we're on TV. Hi, yeah, we're here outside Oba's locker room. All of a sudden, door bursts open, and he gets chucked out of the way as Oba marches his way to the ring. These guys were nailing each other. I know Big E wanted Meat Mania. Well, this was certainly some of it. These guys were laying in their shots, hitting each other hard. A lot of impressive stuff from these three. We had a big tower spot at one point where Dijak, I believe, had Josh Briggs up on his shoulders in like an electric chair. No, I'm sorry. Like an attitude adjustment position, I believe, for Feast Your Eyes or something like that. Obafemi came over to that corner as they were setting up, electric chair position. So Oba was holding Dijak on his shoulders as Dijak was holding Josh Briggs onto his shoulders. Fall down, tower spot, Feast Your Eyes. Chaos. Meat Mania indeed, lady. Meat Mania indeed. We got to Feast Your Eyes to Obafemi, followed by a breakup of the moonsault by Josh Briggs. Briggs was taken out by another Feast Your Eyes, but the ref was pulled as Obafemi recovered. Oba got pounced through the ringside barricade at one point. Two Feast Your Eyes onto Josh Briggs, broken up by Obafemi with the sit-down powerbomb onto Briggs, onto Dijak, onto Briggs. Obafemi would retain in this hard-hitting triple threat here. So, crowd seemed very behind Dijak. Seems like he might be turning a little bit of a new leaf here, going more face just because the crowd's behind him. Maybe moving away from this like Sin City type character. We'll see. He did actually call out the Feast Your Eyes like old NXT. We'll have to keep an eye on him. But Obafemi also has a lot of fans behind him, being the newer guy and only having a couple matches here. He's caught on very, very quick and does a great job. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. If there's a run back, Josh Briggs improving as well, standing out as a single superstar. Seems like his momentum's just a little bit slower than the other two. Then we got the 6-woman tag. We got JC Jane, Kiana James, and Izzy Dame going against Thea Hale, Kalani Jordan, and Fallon Henley. Main story here being JC Jane kind of betraying Thea Hale, not being her friend. Little confusing on the story elements as JC Jane helped out Chase U from their debts. And then all of a sudden she's like, nah, I don't want to be friendly. So weird. It felt like this match had the most amount of time. I don't know if it was just the multiple characters in there or if it was the interest level where it felt like it dragged on a little bit. All 6 ladies did a great job. Nothing looked bad or went bad. Just not the most exciting of execution. And the finish kind of came out of nowhere. You built up this tension with Thea and JC finally facing off after the rest of the ladies were taken out. They had a little bit of an altercation. Eventually, the other wrestlers recovered. Izzy Dame tagged in from JC Jane. Thea got her into the Kimura lock, and that was it. It was literally just, it's over. It didn't seem like it built up to that finish, so obviously that still leaves the door open for maybe a one-on-one, with Hale and Jane. But yeah, after how this match was kind of going, and then just to have it abruptly end and stop, a little weird. But the good guys team came out on top. All right, after that, we got this weird promo, and not like a spoken promo, but just a video package. It was some quote. I think it was Friedrich. I do not know. Something about Advantage, but Advantage was like boldened in red, so I have no idea who that is for, but just a note. We also got the announcement that NXT is getting the Women's North American Championship being introduced, so essentially a mid-card title for the ladies, which is great. Got a huge reaction from the crowd, which is glad to hear. Obviously, they have a decent-sized women's roster there. A little weird it's not going on the main roster, but maybe time will tell. Could be like the women's tag team titles where it's shared across all three brands. Obviously, the women's tag titles have gone there in NXT a few times, but nothing consistent enough. I feel that people recognize that in the general public of like, oh yeah, NXT ladies can do this too. There's also not a lot of NXT women's tag teams, or at least established teams, in comparison to when they had the NXT women's tag team titles and then the main roster tag team titles before the merge. So we'll have to see how this one plays out, if they just keep this a solo NXT title or if they do a cross promotion thing. Or I saw some people even talking about like maybe this is just a trial situation, like does this work, is it viable, and then we'll announce or establish a main card title. We'll have to see, but cool news as well. And speaking of cool news, finally, no, not The Rock, Julia is introduced in the crowd with William Regal and the old Stardom promoter. I apologize, I don't recognize his name, but they're all in the crowd. Julia seems very surprised by the warm reception that she got, but she's finally here after rumors. I think we had rumors even before the Rumble that she was on her way, so cool to see her there. I personally haven't watched anything in New Japan or Stardom starring her, but just the Rumble online sounds like she's great. So seems like she'll start with NXT. Maybe it'll be a Dragon Lee situation where she's not there super long, gets called up the main roster. We'll have to see, but cool that they're bringing back at least like takeovers of old where there was somebody in the crowd like, oh, this is our new indie person. Like maybe we're back on that track, and cool to see her here. And that led into the NXT Women's Championship. We got Lyra Valkyria defending against Roxanne Perez. I'm not gonna lie, I felt like I missed a lot of this match. Roxy being heel, I don't particularly click with, but the crowd was really behind Roxanne. She technically never lost that title. Storyline, she fainted and then relinquished it and then had to fight back for it. Then Indy Hartwell won it, and then so on. But she's reached this breaking point where she can't get over the hump, and like other people are getting opportunities, so she's gone heel, going against Lyra here. From what I did see, obviously the ladies did a great job. I just didn't note anything memorable from this match. Tatum Paxley, Lyra's biggest fan, did show up and interfere a little bit, but didn't do a great job as she got taken out quickly. Like I said, the crowd was behind Roxy, and eventually Roxanne would win thanks to the injured arm, or wing, bird person, via submission on Lyra. So Roxanne is now your NXT Women's Champion for a second time. All right, we head into the semi-main. We got to the men's title. Ilya Dragunov defending against Tony D'Angelo. We had some updated family music for Tony D and the crew, as we had Stax, The Riz, and Luciano Cristofino, I don't know, the lawyer guy, finally joining in on the family. We had all of them coming out together, but new family music. Ilya's hand was bothering him throughout. They were continuing the storyline where Stacks kind of messed it up. I think it was not this past Tuesday, but the Tuesday prior on NXT, stomping on it. So they played up with that, of him, hurting that throughout. Stacks at one point did offer some brass knucks to the Don, but Tony said no, didn't take them. Ilya calls out to the family to do something at one point. Stacks gets up, but the Don also says no, so the Don really wanted to do this on his own, which I do respect. At one point, we had both of them clear off the Spanish announce table as they were intending to smash each other through it. Eventually, through their brawl, Tony D ended up on the table, and Ilya gave him the dropping H-bomb elbow through the table. Then back into the ring, Torpedo Moscow to the back of Tony D from Ilya Dragunov, an H-bomb off the top rope. Ilya would retain, and both would shake hands after the match. So, cool. Surprisingly, a decent match. No offense to Tony. He's just not the most exciting to me outside of the character. But I thought both did a great job. I thought there was a chance that Tony might take the title here, being one of the new class, or the last of the new class, to not get that belt. And then have Ilya go up to the main roster to potentially fight a Gunther. But this was signs of, nope, that's not happening, obviously with him retaining, and to what happened later on. So we'll have to see what the plan is from here, who's going to be next in line for that title. Does the Don and the family potentially show up on the main roster? I could see Tony being ready. I could see Stacks being ready. Riz and Crucifino are still very new, so I wouldn't. You got a weird Legato situation here with Elektra Lopez. Elektra got left behind because she wasn't ready, I presume. So it would just run back into that, I would feel. Not that they couldn't pull double duty or still just be a thing. Just those two stay there. We'll have to see. Backstage stuff. Tatum Paxley tried to apologize to Lyra Valkyria. Lyra said it's not the time. She seemed very angry. Understandable. She lost her title. Hopefully this doesn't mean Lyra's going heel. Might just lead into an eventual feud with her and Tatum, as Tatum's kind of playing this weird stalker fandom character. New superstar promo, Javon Evans. I know he's been wrestling on NXT Level Up. A young guy. I think he said he was 19. But has been impressing. So he's going to be debuting on the main show on Tuesday. So we'll have to see how he meshes into everything. Metaphor came out one more time to do attendance record. Apparently the biggest NXT pay-per-view show ever. And then we got our main event. We got Trick Williams versus Carmelo Hayes. Oh boy. To say Trick was over would be an understatement. Everybody's singing Whoop That Trick. And then, I don't know if a lady wants to do, well, no. Booker being Booker with the Whoop That Trick song going, yeah. Yeah, the commentary from Booker all night. Wow. That tone and everything. It was interesting. But these guys did a great job together. The ref had a poor night. He was told earlier in the night in the pre-show with Ava, there needs to be a winner here, so just let it go. But someone has to finish this. We can't have this keep going on. And unfortunately, his ref took 2 bumps during this match. Got knocked out twice. First bump, Mello brought in a chair. Mello brought in a chair. Luckily, Trick was able to cut this off and use it himself. The ref woke up, took the chair from him. Low blow by Carmelo. Second ref bump. Carmelo went for nothing but net off the top rope. Another ref ran in. Trick kicks out. Mello tries to use the chair. The second referee's like, none of that. Takes it from him. And here comes Trick with the flying knee. Trick Williams wins, sending Carmelo probably over to SmackDown full time. So yeah, overall, all in all, Stand and Deliver was a good time. I don't feel like anything really blew it out of the water of wow, that's going to be the match I remember. There was definitely more spots and moments I feel like I remember or that stood out from this. Like I said, the tower spot with Femi, Dijak, and Briggs was impressive. That drop kick from Axiom to Braun Breaker's spear onto Nathan Frazier earlier in the night. And yeah, just the impact obviously Ilya brings to the table with all of his matches. So yeah, it's looking good. I'm curious if this fast tracks Trick to the rematch with Ilya. He had that match at Vengeance Day where he did a decent job, and then unfortunately just came up short before the Carmelo reveal in turn. So we'll have to see if Trick is on that track to maybe take the title from Ilya, and then Ilya can go up at some point or go from there. Obafemi, curious what's next for him. He's got plenty of contenders as well. And then, yeah, same with Wolf Dogs. How long is this going to last, especially with Braun on SmackDown? How long is he going to pull double duty? And who's going to be the tag team to take them away? I don't know if you just run back Frazier and Axiom. You got the Chase U guys. You got technically the family if they want to run for them again. The Good Brothers, are they staying down there? I guess they could go for them. Malik Blade and Idris Enofe, I feel, are in this weird like limbo where they're kind of around but not elevated, I feel, as they probably should be. Don't know if that's just an improvement thing. Who knows? So a lot of potential coming out of NXT Stand and Deliver of where the follow-up will be. So I'll have to keep an eye on that and see how obviously Julia performs and integrates into the NXT system, and then Javon Evans coming to the more main show of NXT, see what kind of impact he can make. So yeah, that wraps up Stand and Deliver.